Cool, Garth. So I believe we've just done a walk to Hwange, and yeah, it would be awesome if you could tell us about your whole experience and your trip.
Yeah, I mean, this is an idea that I've had for a number of years. So in northern Hwange, we've got our two private concessions and lodges. One is called Nantwich Lodge, and the other one is called Bumbusi Wilderness Camp. And the amazing thing and the nice thing about where our concessions are is in the north of Hwange, based along a river called the Decker River, which is actually the only river in the whole of Hwange National Park that has water in it throughout the year. The rest of Hwange, if you head to the centre and the southern part, is an area called the Kalahari Sands. So in the dry season, which is our peak game viewing season, a lot of those pans dry up, and then you do have pans that are pumped, but with solar pumps. The advantage of this, and I really do believe it's we're the only company that are going to be doing this. It's a trail following the Seep and a few rivers that run into the Decker River, and then eventually the Decker River from Nantwich to Bumbusi. Whereas other camps that do walking safaris, generally speaking, will do a walk from their camp, like a morning walk for a few hours or whatever it happens to be. But they can't really follow a trail because actually there's not enough water, and water is life, and that's where all the wildlife is, and that's what we really want to experience. It's about the wildlife, it's about the bird life, and of course being out in the wilderness area. So anyway, I got hold of a friend of mine, Clint Robertson, who puts up fly camps on the Decker River, and I said, Clint, how about we develop this product staying between Nantwich Lodge, the fly camp on the Decker River, which is sort of at the halfway mark, and then Bumbusi. And Clint was very keen to do it, and we decided to then do it now in October. So I got some friends who wanted to come along. I said to them, please guys, be aware that this is a recce trip, because invariably on a recce trip we have to change certain things, so we flew. We're now in Cape Town, where I'm chatting from, and that's our head office. And so I flew up with my friends with Kenyan Airways, which has a lovely direct flight from Cape Town into Victoria Falls. One of my mates, Mike, hadn't seen the falls before, so we spent the night in Vic Falls. And the next morning we got up early and we walked we actually stayed at Shearwater Adventure Village, which is nice and central. Whenever I stay in Vic Falls, I love being central, so normally I stay at a Lala Lodge or Shearwater. And at Shearwater, so we left at 6 in the morning and we walked down to the falls and had a look at the falls. After visiting the falls for a couple of hours, we then headed on to Shearwater's new helicopter pad, which is phenomenal. It is unbelievable. They've got a beautiful coffee shop there, and it's very, very professional. And we went for a 13-minute flip over the falls, and then from there, our driver, Junior, took us down into Hwange National Park to Nantwich. So it's about a 2-hour transfer time from Big Falls into Nantwich. We got there for lunch, we relaxed, it's very hot this time of year, so we went for a swim in the pool, I do have an interest in watching rugby, and the Springboks were playing, and we managed to, because there's Starlink there, we actually managed to watch the game live up at the swimming pool area, which was phenomenal. And then that afternoon we went for a lovely game drive, and it was on the concession. There's great sunset spots, so we had sundowners at one of the points, and then we did a night drive back to Nantwich and had dinner, chatted about the next day. So it does get pretty hot this time of year, gets into the mid-30s and even can push up into the late 30s, but of course the morning is the best time. It's nice and cool, so we decided every day we would leave at 6 a.m. So we got up at 5:30, had a coffee, and we set off at 6 o'clock from Nantwich. So Nantwich has these seep lines that run down through the concession. We've got massive big flay, grasslands called palm flay, and we walked down these seep lines, which we've actually named Nantwich River, and we saw quite a lot of wildlife along that routing. A lot of, on our concession in that morning, we saw elephants, giraffe, and then a lot of plains game. A lovely experience as well is walking down the river. We were actually downwind from these honey badgers, and a pair of honey badgers were digging in the ground and they didn't notice us. So for a while we watched them until they picked up our scent, and then they scurried off and actually went into their burrow. So that seeing honey badgers is always a fantastic experience. And then from the seep line it runs into Shumshlange River, and then we followed that off to the east, and then Shumshlange River runs into the Decker River. So that's the main river where there's pools, and along the Decker River the pools are big enough this time of year to hold crocodiles as well as hippos, and then of course the wildlife that comes along. Yeah, so we carried on that afternoon, and we actually bumped into lion twice, which was phenomenal. And that's actually the interesting thing. So my friends, there were 3 of them. Some have got some experience in the bush, one didn't have any. So between all of them, before we did this trip, they were quite nervous about walking. Even one of my friends redid his will and took out life insurance policy. So that's what, it does scare people, because you're dealing with dangerous wildlife. That fear actually dissipates when you're going with professionals like we did on the walk, and when you're starting to understand the bush. So the first thing people are scared of is cats. Okay, and then, so we did on this trip see lion on a number of occasions, leopard once, which was unbelievable on foot. One of the best sightings of my life. And they were fearful of that, but actually the lion and leopard behavior is during the daytime is they actually nervous of us humans. So as soon as they, and it's about walking downwind from them. As soon as you're walking upwind, they'll pick up on your scent, and they'll actually move off quite quickly. So that's exactly the behavior pattern we had with all of our sightings with the cats on foot. And that's actually what I explained to my friends beforehand. But it's only once they experienced it today they understand, okay. Because of course I think the first thing, it's the king of the jungle, everyone's nervous of lions. They do have different behavior at night time. Lions you have to be very, very careful of at night. And that's why you don't walk around in the dark at night time. You always looked after, and you stay in your tent, or you stay in your chalet, and you always have a professional guide walking you, say, from the main area to your chalets or tents. Which we had throughout this trip as well. Then, and actually what I was explaining to my friends is the wildlife to watch out for are elephants. So that'll be a breeding herd of elephants, and that's if the mothers have calves, they're obviously very protective. And then of course the bull elephants, if they're in what you call musk, which they're basically ready to breed, they can get very aggressive. And the nice thing about, there's a few advantages of walking in the morning. So we basically walked from about 6 a.m. to about midday. And then we would get to whether one of the lodges or camps at night time. We'd have a lovely lunch, and we would relax in the afternoon. Actually, what we coin armchair game viewing, you sit back and you watch the wildlife coming down to the water to drink, which we had every single afternoon. And then the birding is just phenomenal. So back to the elephants. So elephants actually don't drink in the mornings along the Decker River. We didn't along the whole of this walk, except the last day was when we had finished the walk already. When we did the Bumbusi Gorge, we did bump quite a few different elephants. But on the whole walk, we didn't see any elephants coming down to drink in the mornings, and it was only in the afternoon that's when we did see them. So that was great. And then the other animal to watch out for are hippos. So we have hippos along the Decker River. Nighttime, so hippos we all see in the water all the time. And most of us don't see their behavior patterns at nighttime. And that's when they graze. They come out because of course it's cooler. They can't handle the direct sun. So they come out at nighttime, and they can traverse. They can walk 10 kilometers in one direction and 10 back, in a night, grazing on grass and whatever else. So what you do have to watch out for is that the gullies leading into the Decker River, for instance, where there's nice and shade and there's a tree line, the hippos can actually lie down and sleep there. And the last thing you want to do on a walk is walk between a hippo and the water. Okay, So our guides were very aware of that. We had a briefing every single morning, and even during the walk they would remind us. For instance, if you were coming to a thicket where the bush was thicker, they would stop and whisper and say, listen guys, we have to be particularly quiet now. We're going in single file, which we're always doing. Please be aware. And they also ask you, because everyone's got eyes and ears, they also ask you if you do pick up anything, then just click, and then we all stop, and then we have a look. So we didn't have that issue with hippos. We were very aware when we did come to any gullies to look up the gullies and make sure that no hippos came between us and the water. They don't want to attack us, but they will if they're between, if we are between them and the water. They want to get back to the water. That's where it's a safe zone for them. Then the other animal we have to watch out for is buffalo. So generally speaking, buffalo in a big herd are absolutely fine. So a breeding herd of buffalo and whatnot are fine. They will leave us alone. It's the old, what you call a dugger boy. So those are the old males, and they get kicked out of the herd and they connect together. So over the years, you normally see 2-3 dugger boys together, or you can see a group up to say 12 or so. I have seen, and they can be pretty grumpy if you bump into them. And we didn't see any dugger boys. We're continuously watching tracks. The guides are continuously watching it. They can read whether the tracks are fresh, or whether, hey, these are 2 days old or 3 days old or whatever they happen to be. So in all, I think everyone felt pretty safe on this trip, and you're with a bunch of professionals who know what they're doing. Talking about the last day, so we did about, I would say, 15 kilometers a day. To get from Nantwich to Bumbusi. We then spent 2 nights at Bumbusi. I mean, it's just a phenomenal camp. It's under a canopy. It's like I always explain to people, it's like an oasis in Hwange National Park. And this time of year, where it's really, really dry, for instance, you want to get to a nice cool spot. And what gives you the nice temperatures is the canopy of huge, massive trees. A lot of Natal mahogany and whatnot. There's green lawn underneath the trees. There's a beautiful eco pool. That's the first thing when we got there. When we had finished the walk, we arrived lunchtime, and I mean, Mike actually went into the swimming pool with all his clothes on, just to cool down. And we utilized that pool. And you're sitting there watching the wildlife come and go. The wildlife comes through the camp, so you'll have elephants coming through the camp. There's resident bushbuck, as well as impala, warthog, baboons, and vervet monkeys. You have to watch out that they don't drop down onto your table and try and eat something, grab a biscuit or whatever it happens to be. So finishing off there was great. And then we had a full day the next day at Bumbusi. And a favorite walk of mine in Bumbusi is the Bumbusi Gorge. So it's about a 20-minute game drive from Bumbusi to the entrance of the gorge. And this gorge is spectacular. I mean, it really ticks the box for everyone's interests. I mean, the wildlife, when we arrived, there was actually a bull elephant there at the spring. There's a spring right at the entrance to the gorge. So we waited 15-20 minutes and we watched him. And once he'd finished drinking and moved off, then we actually started our walk. So inside the gorge, the trees are spectacular. So all different variety of trees, baobabs, rain trees, big trees, you name it are there. So anyone's interested in the trees are there. There's also a petrified forest. So on the sides, actually, you walk up a side and you're continuously seeing these old trunks of million years old from the Jurassic period, these huge trees. So you can imagine in your mind what this area must have looked like. Very, very different back in those times. The bird life is unbelievable. We had Sean Hind, one of the pro guides with us, is big into his birding. One of my friends, Evan, as well is. So it's fascinating watching birders. I love birds, but I'm not a big birder. Probably I don't have the best memory to remember all the names, and they keep changing the names as well. But it was great watching their discussions and also learning from them. And then you've got your wildlife. So just in the gorge part, which isn't that, I would say it's probably about 800 meters deep, the gorge, where you've got cliffs on both sides. As I mentioned, we bumped into an elephant at the beginning of that walk. There were clip springers on the side. It's a small little buck. Dassies as well, which are rock hyrax. They actually the closest relative to the elephant, and they're about that big. So that's also fascinating, and the guides go over why they are and how they're related. And there's a little mountain, what we call Kopi, in the center of that, and a dry riverbed that runs around it this time of year. And so we walked around there. We actually got onto some tracks and we tracked various wildlife. We came across a hyena den in an actual cave, which is great to see because often it's in the ground when they dig in the ground. This is actually a rocky cave. I mean, one of the sites, I wasn't quick enough to get a photograph, but seeing this hyena looking at me through this cave was fantastic. And then we left the hyenas and we carried on walking, and actually then we had a breeding herd we saw going back into the Bumbusi gorge. So that's where things change, and your guides make decisions to change. And it's a fluid sort of morning walk. It was supposed to be about 7 kilometers. We did about 9 kilometers, and we decided not to go back through the gorge, but to actually walk up the one ridgeline, which was great to do. I haven't done that ridgeline walk before. We actually walked into the biggest bull elephant sleeping on its side that I've ever seen, sleeping, and we actually pulled back and then go back around it, and we were downwind and he carried on sleeping and we didn't disturb him. Then we got onto the top of the ridgeline where we could look down onto the gorge, and there we came across, so the Bumbusi is named after the Bumbusi ruins. So the ruins are close by to Bumbusi, and then there's these outposts. So actually, Blessing, our Bumbusi guide, actually explained that there's 4 outposts scattered around the hills around Bumbusi, and this was one of them. And that's obviously where the outposts, they would have sentries watching in case there was any threat coming from outside, and then they could warn everyone living at the Bumbusi ruins. So that was great seeing that. Then just after that, we actually looked down onto that original spring, and there was another bull elephant. And so we all just sat back and watched this bull elephant drinking from the spring. The spring is so tiny. Literally, the trunk of the elephant can just reach inside, and they've burrowed it out over the years, and the spring actually fills up with water. They wait patiently, and then there's enough water for them to suck it up in their trunks and then drink. So they're just sitting there the whole time. Many recce's in my life when I go, this product could be good, and invariably we have to change it, tweak it, and whatever. And I even warned my friends. I said, listen guys, this is a recce, so expect the unexpected, and I have to change that. We didn't have to. We really, really didn't have to. So this trail, this Hwange trail, I am so excited about. I think it's not for everyone. You need to be relatively fit. You need to be relatively sure-footed. Group sizes will always be a maximum of 6, so sort of 4 to 6 friends. It's an amazing bonding session. It is pretty hot, but we do go in the coolness of the day, and then it's a lovely combination. That afternoon of relaxing, after you've jumped in a swimming pool, or you've had a quick shower, or whatever, eaten lunch, and then you relax with your friends watching the wildlife come to you. And we did that at all 3 camps. It's a phenomenal combination. And so we ended off on this trip now after the Bumbusi walk. In the morning, the gorge walk. We then went back to Bumbusi. We relaxed. We had lunch in the swimming pool again. High teas at 3:30 in the afternoon. So everyone congregates, because some people went for a snooze or whatever in their chalets. And then at 4:30 we headed out. Blessing took us out. So this was our last night at Bumbusi. We went for another game drive, phenomenal wildlife along the Bumbusi River. So there's a Bumbusi River and spring line that actually then runs into the Decker River to the east. And that's the area we game drive around where the Bumbusi concession is. In the afternoon is full of elephants, breeding herds, single bulls coming down to drink in the Bumbusi River. Giraffe, it was just giraffe heaven. I think we saw, 30 plus different giraffe all over the place. And then your plains game. But leaving on that afternoon game drive at 4:30, it wasn't 5 minutes from the camp. And Blessing is unbelievable what he can see. He goes, there you go guys, lions. And you actually have to look to actually see these lions. And then we were probably sat about 15 meters from them. One of the most beautiful female lions with her adolescent cubs was there, just totally habituated, relaxed. We watched it for 20 minutes and then we moved off. So seeing them so nice and close to the camp, you would hear them at night time. Actually at all camps we heard lion roaring at night. And then we went on. There's a beautiful open plain, grasslands, with a single fig tree in the middle, and Blessing stopped there, and we had sundowners there. You don't get better than the African sunsets. I think it's all the dust in the air and the red skies. And then after dusk, we then headed off on a night drive back to Bumbusi. But on the way, Blessing was taking us on a night drive, and there's some koppies behind Bumbusi. And he said, "Oh guys, I just want to show you something really special." And he stopped, and with his torch he got us out, and then he showed us these rock etchings, okay, which was great to see. There's even actually a foot of a rock etching, but lots of tracks and wildlife. And then he took us around this rock, and there they'd set up like a path with lights on, and they'd set up a surprise bush dinner for us amongst the granite rock boulders. They do it for all of our clients, and I mean, my friends didn't see it coming, so it was a spectacular night. There was another client, Sandra, who joined us at our table from Australia, and I think she really enjoyed our company that night. And so it was just a lovely end off for Bumbusi. We then, the next morning, JC, one of our Nantwich guys, picked us up and I'd organised for us to do a full morning game drive. So we stopped off at all the different hides and water points along the way back to Nantwich. We saw numerous lions and all the other wildlife. As I mentioned, this is peak season. Got back to Nantwich, had lunch, had a swim in the pool, and then we organised a similar thing. We headed out at actually later, about 5:30, so we had a quick sundowners and did a night drive on the Nantwich concession, and it couldn't have been any better to end off this trip. We came across the resident, at the moment Nantwich has a resident leopard, and she's got a cub as well, and we literally sat very respectfully. We were probably about 50 metres away from her, and JC turned the Land Cruiser engine off, and we just sat and watched her for about 20 minutes. She was so relaxed. She was even snoozing at one stage, and then she was looking at the impala in the distance, and then we left her and went back to Nantwich, had dinner, and that was just the perfect send-off. I mean, so this trip, I mean, you need about a week to do it, and I highly recommend it. I think it's going to be a real big hit for